Gibson was trolling with this model. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. That's right, if you are a traditionalist and you think a Les Paul should still look the way it did in 1959, this is not the video for you. Click off right now. Oh, you're still here? Alright, I guess we'll continue the episode. For all my open-minded viewers, because I'll be honest, I even hated this thing when it was introduced in 2018, and I was thinking, what are you doing, Gibson? But now that I've had some time to marinate on this, today we're talking about the Blackout series. This particular one is called Stallion Red. It is such an in-your-face, out-there color. But the reason why I say Gibson's really trolling with this one is this has a perfect trifecta of what purists hate from this era. We've got an outlandishly out there finish. We have stock EMG pickups, active electronics in a Les Paul. What is that? And if that isn't enough, it's also a chambered guitar. No, we don't want chambered Les Pauls. And I guess you can also throw that this is a Richlite fretboard onto the lists of sins. That would make a traditionalist puke. But, you know, at the same time, it's got some really cool, quirky specs that we can talk about. So besides Stallion Red that we can see here, they offered 3 other finishes from the factory. These were mainly geared for exotic car collectors. So you had F1 Orange, Diablo Yellow, and then just a straight up ebony one. However, there were a few custom orders done. I actually documented quite a while ago an Ice Blue Prism, which was a really interesting metallic finish. But they're all pretty cool because they have a matching headstock. And you gotta remember, this was quite a few years before the mod collection and demo shop came around and started putting this on a whole bunch of stuff. To find a matching headstock Les Paul in this era was still relatively uncommon, but this starts to chime in on the next feature that is very unique to this Les Paul custom. Normally a custom has multiply binding, so you'd have like a black-white layer that's alternating. Usually there's 7 of them, but this one right here has single ply binding. That's what makes these so vastly different looking, besides just the whole EMG aesthetics and the fact that you've got a really out there finish. Now you actually do have black binding along the fretboard, even though you really can't see it, but that's the other reason this headstock looks so different, is the fact that you don't have the multiply binding. Well, almost anyways. The ebony one, they decided it was way too plain. They still only single ply bound the body, but they did give it the multiply on the headstock. But you know what? Looking at this guitar, I think the spec sheets were just wrong for these, because this one also has a 5-piece neck. And you'll also notice that this one is a 2017 serial number. I just told you it was a 2018 year model. What that means is it was for the model year 2018. So you can find some late 2017s as they were producing them for the 2018 year, and then you might even find a late 2019. But you're probably curious, how many of these did they make? Unfortunately, I could not find that information, but generally in this era, they would make like 25 of each color when they were really crazy like this. However, you don't ever see these things show up, so they might have been so vastly unpopular that they really only made a handful. I'm certainly not paying premiums to add these to my collection, but if the other colors show up at the right price, I wouldn't object to it. You might be curious how much these were brand new. They were $4,899. Now I think you understand why some guys were upset. However, they also came with the custom shop lift and reissue cases. You got all the usual case candy, such as your pre-pack checklist, the Schaller strap locks that came stock on these, a pickguard if you chose to install it. Hopefully not a lot of people did, because it doesn't make sense to have the multi-layers on your pickguard and not the rest of the guitar. And then of course your actual COA here. Does anybody else find it weird we have these hot rod colors and they come with pink interior cases? But the point I wanted to make over here is actually, you can see this one was finished 11/20 of 2017, but poor Will Cut Guitars, the original dealer, it took him all the way till February of 2020 to sell it. Poor unwanted guitar. So to learn a little bit more about this very unconventional beast, let's go ahead and throw this on the workbench to take a look at its parts and specs. Inside the Italian Stallion, what do we got going on here? So EMG 8185 set It's the 85 in the neck and the 81 in the bridge. So these are active electronics. That means we're going to have some sort of a 9-volt battery within our cavity here. And because of that, we only have to have 25K pots. That's just what EMGs run on. So that's the reason why traditionalists hate active pickups in Les Pauls, because if they want to change them back, it's not just as simple as changing out your pickups. You have to change out all the wiring. So if you're buying a Les Paul that's been modified with EMGs, easily budget at least $300 to change that. But anyways, we can see our long neck tenon. So it's somewhere around 2018 when regular customs from the custom shop do get the long neck tenons, because that used to be something only special things or historics would get. But thankfully right here we can actually see the walnut strips in the center of the neck. So yeah, I do believe that is a 3-piece maple neck on this one. However, the spec sheets say it's supposed to be mahogany. I've never seen Gibson actually use a multiply mahogany neck with the walnut stripes. So if you own a chambered Blackout, please let me know. Does yours also have that? Did some colors have it, others didn't? As far as the bridge cavity goes, you don't see too much, except for your 2-piece maple top there joining onto your chambered out mahogany body. But our bridge is just the regular Nashville style one. They did not go for the full-on ABR one. And it does indeed have a full-weight black tailpiece by Advanced Plated Incorporated. Here's a good look at that single ply binding. So it's kind of like a Les Paul standard in that aspect, except for we also have the binding on the back. I guess they could have did like a cool black and gray layer alternation, but they were going for the whole blacked out vibe. But you just have your regular 2 volumes and 2 tones. Now moving on to our fretboard. It's Richlite, and you have black mother of pearl inlays, which is pretty cool. You don't see them too often, used on Gibson guitars, and this one has a lot of swirling going on. I know there is such a thing called black mother of pearl, but it wouldn't surprise me if they just dyed regular mother of pearl. However, just having a completely blank fretboard probably would have been pretty cool too. But you do have white side marker inlays to help you see them. 22 medium jumbo style frets with a 12-inch fretboard radius, and it measures 24 3/4 inch on the scale length. Our graphite nut measures 1.69 inches. By the 12th, it's 2.07. First fret neck depth, 0.87, and an even 1 by the 12th. Here's what that looks like at the first fret and the 12th fret. Nice and rounded without being overly thick. And now our headstock. This was very poor work from Gibson. I mean, you gotta remember, 2018 was that last full year under Henry J ownership, and they were doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff. We've documented quite a few, but just to name a couple of other cool models from this time. Yeah, the Vivian Campbell signature, the Les Paul Boogie Vans, Les Paul Junior Mosaics. I'm on a quest to document them all. But the reason why I say this one's so poor, do you see what's on the binding right there? It just looks like dust, right? That is under the finish. Thanks, Gibson. Maybe my Snakepit is real after all. But that's pretty much all over the headstock. That's rather unfortunate. Something else that's unfortunate is we cannot see the neck material because it's all been painted over, but at least our truss rod is looking in good shape. But the black mother of pearl inlays really cleanly inlaid with that super bright headstock. It gives these a very unique look. Although in my opinion, the truss rod cover on these, being the regular Les Paul custom one, doesn't work at all. They should have did something to make these a little bit more car-like, or maybe just make this a gray layer with gray lettering. Moving on to the back, I had a small mystery to solve here. So when I held the guitar in my hands and I would shake it a little bit, I would hear something rattling around inside. And sometimes on these chambered guitars, you can find like wood splinters that have chipped off or weren't cleaned out from the factory, and I did get a couple of those out. But no, this one was like a metallic ringing, so I had to take the toggle switch plate off, and to my surprise, there was something around it. So I took the toggle switch out and removed it, and it was a really strange bracket. Looks like it was glued onto some part of the guitar at one point in time, and then it came loose. So I was really curious, why was it there? So I'd already told you it was EMGs 25K pots in here, and you're going to have a 9-volt battery, so that shouldn't be too surprising. But the battery is just wrapped up in this foam when I had taken it out. I thought that was a little bit strange. Gibson would use this. So then I started to think, hey, that looks like a 9-volt battery clip. They just didn't use one of those back plates like they had in 2014 that had the built-in battery door compartment. And sure enough, looking at the back here, yeah, that must have fell off at one point in time, and somebody didn't want to lose it, so they just dropped it in here. I would have just put it in the case if it was me, but okay. So mystery solved. There we go. So the EMGs are on a quick connect system. So if you're a big EMG pickup fan, you could swap any type of EMGs in here that you do want without having to do too much work. But now let's talk about chambering.
Custom shop chambering, I actually am a fan of. They do it in a little bit of a different way than Gibson USA. Custom shop chambers are basically a big U shape that is all connected, whereas chambered guitars within Gibson USA, you can't actually see the chambering. So if you've tried a USA standard that was chambered, you didn't like it, I would still give custom shop a try. For example, you might check out a Les Paul Elegant or even the Catalina series. Let's go ahead and get the endoscope here. All right, let's head on in here and we'll head up towards the pickguard area first. So right here, what you're seeing is the pickup cavity where all the things come out of. There's a little bit less paint in this area, so you can actually see the mahogany body here, as well as our plain maple top. I'm not seeing much figuring there, but this appears to be our cutaway area. But now we'll head in this way towards the strap button, where you can see they have a little bit of an extra bump of mahogany right there. That way the strap button can seat into that. But here's the other side of the body, and the rest we'll have to see by going in through the toggle switch. It's pretty much just more of the same of what we saw on the underside. So kind of like a 335 with a center block, except for the center block doesn't go all the way through. But that does make me think, it is possible that this just fell off and worked its way around up here and then somehow got hooked on the three-way toggle switch. That is entirely possible, and that's why I've always liked these custom shop chambered guitars, because it's one whole cavity. You can drop something in here and it comes out down there. You could technically use this to smuggle some Twinkies to your next gig. Or you can save up for your next guitar by throwing $100 bills in here. I feel like that would make a really cool news story. Man finds $1 million stuffed in guitar. But other than that, in the single ply binding, there's not too much more to talk about on this one. You've just got your Schaller strap locks stock from the factory at the bottom and up here. Another pretty poorly finished area on this guitar is right here. It's got so much orange peel in that area because they didn't completely buff it because it's kind of hard to get to that area. So it looks like more white dust, but no, it's just orange peel to finish. And then we can see our 5-piece neck, which is honestly quite hilarious because there's a lot of guys that would hate on this having a maple neck. If only they would have put big honkin' volutes on all these things too. Just put everything that the traditionalists hate all on one guitar. But there we go, late 2017 serial number. You just got regular black Grover tuners. All said and done, this one weighs 8 pounds 4 ounces, much lighter than my last one. So let's go ahead, plug this one in, and hear how it sounds. yeah, this is not like the normal Les Pauls. These pickups are very active. They want to overdrive your amp. They sustain forever. Like, you can just not even bother with picking. I know a lot of bands like to use EMGs like Metallica, and that's exactly what comes out of this guitar. I know Zakk Wylde is another one. So no, this thing is not gonna be for everybody, but it works in certain situations. But EMGs are not just crazy devil machines. You can also play them clean. There are some jazz guys out there that like them. So let's get some of that. This rolled down to about an 8. You just gotta be careful with your pick attack, or just roll it down like I had for most of this episode. Here it is at 10. Yeah, roll them down to 4 and you can just act like they're PAFs. Now that we know all about the chambered Blackout Stallion Red Les Paul Custom, what are my final thoughts on this thing? I'm glad I tried another one of these. Am I going to say it's my favorite Les Paul of all time? No, but it definitely fills a very certain niche for a little bit more aggressive playing than I normally do. And it's got the looks to pull it off too. So even though this is a big troll against traditionalists, I'm glad it exists as a limited edition that has probably been forgotten about for the most part, because that's when the guitars can kind of take on a life of their own. I collect the weird oddball 2018s, so you don't have to. I just think they're interesting. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.
If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.